Hola.
Hola.
Hi.
How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. Not too bad. Let me start to share my screen. All right.
I have a question for getting to the live Zoom. Is the same?
Yes.
The same.
Sure.
Oh, okay. So we getting into first in Canvas, and then.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you can get there. So I try to give, again, lots of choices how to get there. But here, you can just click this link right on the homepage. You can type in the meeting ID. You can wait until I send out the announcement. There's lots of different places to get the link. But also, it's the same link every Wednesday. So you could save the, you know what I mean? You could save the link, and yeah, lots of different ways to do it.
Okay.
We've got our crew. How you guys doing? People are pretty good. I was happy. Like more than half the class did the lessons. There's some people who still haven't, are still waiting, but that's fine. That's how this class is set up. But it seems like people wanted to do the lessons and did them pretty fast, which is great. So we'll definitely have stuff to talk about today and practice before we go to Language Power Tutorial 2 coming up.
I have another question.
I'll talk.
The last two lesson is the same video in YouTube. Your video.
Yes. Same video.
Okay.
Same video. But yeah, same video. Someone I answered that question as well for another student. But yeah, same video. That tutorial is it feels short, but there's a lot of ideas in there. So
okay.
I wanted to break it up into 2 different lessons so that go slow and practice the different ideas.
Okay. So
and then we'll, and then today we'll keep practicing it too. Please.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Dana. Sandy's here. Bow's here. Aziz here. How you guys? Stay muted, stay whatever, do your thing. Just saying hi as I see people coming in.
Hi, Professor. How are you?
Hey. I'm doing pretty well. I feel pretty good today. How about you?
I did. I have the COVID vaccine, and it made me really sick last 2 days.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but at least you got the vaccine. That's great.
But then it's like I work in a dental office. It's all of my friends. They said they give me the bad news. So about a vaccine.
Yeah, interesting. I know people have different opinions, ideas, beliefs about the vaccine, and I respect everybody. And I'll always be honest with you, I think it's great. So, but I understand it can be. I understand. Yeah, I talked to a few other friends, older friends. Yeah.
Yeah. All my family, they say don't get it. So until like maybe like 6 months later, they make me scared because they say because right now you don't have COVID. I mean, like your system's going down and you easy to get a COVID. I say, okay, I have insurance. I have life insurance for my daughter.
Yeah. It's really interesting, Bao, because I was just reading this article about how Southeast Asians in general in the United States, not just Viet, but people from Viet, Cambodians, are very, very skeptical, are really nervous about the vaccine. I was just reading about this week, so it's very interesting to hear you share your experience there, Bao.
Yeah, it's the one thing I learned when I have many friends like in medical field. They said don't trust like people. You have to do research or you have to believe like it's real or exactly like what
Yeah.
they said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't hear people say.
Interesting. And it's, of course, I know it's very complex, right? It's not just Southeast Asians. For a lot of countries, especially people from poor countries, vaccines were unfortunately, or medicine in general was used to hurt people. You know, I mean, I understand why people from different places, even Americans, right, are like, I don't
Yeah,
trust these
yes.
doctors. I don't trust this vaccine. I understand. But yeah, like it's the pandemic and you know what I mean? Like enough, I do feel like globally there's enough research now that it's like, okay, I understand people being afraid, but like everything we know is that this is good. This is safe. We can do it. Let's try to get rid of COVID because I'm ready for life to get a little better than this. I'm tired. I want everybody to feel safe and happy and healthy. So, but like I said, I know it's complex. I know it's really, really challenging time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right, we got a few more people. But anyway, no matter what, I'm happy. I'm sorry to hear you didn't have a good response to it, Bal, but I'm happy you got the vaccine. In my opinion, that's very good news. That's nothing but good news. Hewad's here and Aziz came in and Ying's here. Hi, Ying. And who else is here? Deputy's coming in. Good to see people.
Hi, everyone.
Serkalem. Hi, Ying.
How are you doing?
Hello.
We'll get... I'm okay. Doing okay. We'll get started in just about a minute or two.
Sorry,
But we got to... No, there's no late. There's no attendance. There's no attendance to be late for. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Like I said, there's enough stress in the world. I don't want you to have to stress about this class. You can stress about grammar if you want, but not about this class.
Thank you. Yeah, everything is.
That's the goal.
Yeah, so we need to.
Yeah.
Grammar is the major stress.
I know. English grammar just by itself is enough to be stressed about without adding stress about grades or anything. Yes. When we start to talk about subject noun phrases and subject noun clauses, yeah, there's plenty to be stressed about.
Oh yeah, just talk
but
about
that's
that.
my job. I'm here to make it easier and more understandable for you. So try, you know, you can. I invite you to stress less if you can, only if you can. Cool. Let's get started. Since I forget, again, I know this class goes by pretty fast when we have stuff to talk about and examples. And I want to talk about both Language Power Tutorial 1 to keep talking about parts of speech. And I want to introduce Language Power Tutorial 2, which of course you didn't need to do yet. Those lessons were not open in Canvas, but I want to introduce them to you all before, you know, before you start playing around in Canvas. So that's my plan for today. As I say here in the agenda, we kind of did our little check-in. We're going to do a quick parts of speech review, and then I want to introduce Language Power Tutorial 2. So hopefully you guys already understand this acronym here, where it's just a group of letters that represent, you know, a longer phrase. LPT just stands for Language Power Tutorial, and then the number is, you know, whatever, LPT1, Language Power Tutorial 1. We're going to go to Language Power, LPT 27, LPT 13, whatever, all that good stuff. So we're going to introduce LPT 2 today as well. So how about instead of these questions for the check-in, let's just do I'd like to just do a quick warm up as a way to sort of like get, you know, see each other, and for people who do want to turn their screens on and look at each other. Let's just do a quick warm up activity check-in. It's week 3. What questions do you guys still have about this class? Could be anything. It could be about grammar. It could be about the technology, about Canvas, about anything. Uh-oh. Someone's in trouble. Galina, I'm going to mute you. What's going on? Any quick questions I can answer before we get started?
I have a question, but I need to find this question.
Okay, take it whenever you're ready. Jump in.
Okay.
Professor, I have a question.
Anybody else?
Hello.
Yes, please.
This is Sandy. So in our
Hey, Sandy.
class, how many to teach? 2 or 3 or 4? 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 2 or uh, tutorial we will cover?
Tutorial?
Oh, tutorials.
Yeah, tutorials.
Nice, very nice. It is kind of a complex. It's that there are a lot of different sounds in that word. We're gonna do about half of this book. If we go faster, we can go faster. I have materials prepared for all of the lessons and all the tutorials, but last semester we got about half of them. Now I don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna jump around, but if you look overall, about half the book.
How about the book? If finish this class and if I plan to next other grade, will you to introduce other part? If same.
My dream, Sandy, my dream is that so the teacher, this is a little bit of story, so if anyone is bored, I'm sorry, but there was one teacher who always taught G320, the class after this. Now, he is retiring. That means he won't be working. He's leaving the job this semester. So I don't know for sure, but my dream is to be able to teach G320 next fall. And so that what I'd like to do in the future is that I teach G310 in the fall and G320 in the spring. And we do half of language power in G310. We do the other half because some of the tutorials are much more complicated and I think they are better for G320. So that's my plan. So at the end of this, keep asking, Sandy, because we're the teachers right now, the professors we're getting our assignments for what we will teach next semester. So like I said, my dream is you take this class with me in right now, G310, then next semester, I know next semester will be the fall, but I teach G320 and we finish the book.
Yeah, I will keep watch. Thank you.
We'll and of course, and at the end of that was probably a longer answer than you needed, Sandy. But I will say of course, at the end of the semester, one thing I love to talk to students about, and I will share with you, is what classes you guys should take, what classes I am teaching, and all that type of stuff. So we will talk much more about that closer to the end of the semester.
Sure.
Any other questions? Thank you, Sandy. Great.
Yeah.
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you.
I have a question. Lesson 5,
there it is.
syllabus
Yeah,
part 2. It says, read Appendix A in support of culture and language diversity. What is Appendix A? I didn't find it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I'll show you. So appendix, I'm just going to open, it's in the syllabus, right? Actually, I should show you in Canvas. So here's our homepage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you click the picture of the map here, how to find our course syllabus anytime you want it. So again, you can look at it on this page. It will load for you. Or you can just click the blue link up here to download the file.
Mm-hmm.
My bias, I like to open the file. So this is in some of the video that I recorded as well. If my computer will load, there it is. So in class, we went through the first 2 pages, right? And page 3, 4, and 5, these are called appendices. Appendix, again, is just an academic sort of vocabulary word to mean information at the end of a paper, a book, or whatever. Now, if you take English 300, or if you take English ESLW 340 for research paper writing, you'll often see an appendix at the end of something is usually like data or a chart or a graph. It's something that they refer to in the writing, but then they give you the full details at the end, and that's called the appendix. So the page 3, 4, and 5 of the syllabus are where you get much more sort of detailed, specific, there's even a couple charts here, chart here in the middle. So that's where Appendix A is, Andre.
Oh, thank you very much, because it confused me when it said read, but I don't know what read.
Perfect. No, great question. No problem at all. So yeah, if you're watching in the class with me right now, if you're watching the video recording, Appendix A, Appendix B, that just means page 3, 4, and 5 of the syllabus. And again, an appendix is just a fancy academic US college word for the stuff at the end, the stuff after the main part of a book or an article or whatever. Perfect question. Anybody else? Questions about the business of this class, computer questions, tech questions before we jump into grammar? Yes. Hey, what?
I have a question about the dictionary. That was so interesting for me from last classes, the learner dictionary. I look out the internet, so they have like 3,000 academic words when I download in my app and my phone. So even though I pay like almost $5, but there was not show me that we open in computer. So do you know how I access for those raw material?
Learner's Dictionary is, the website is free. It's not the most beautiful website. I don't know if there's an app. So again, learnersdictionary.com. I'll put this in the chat for everybody. But is there an app? So did you download a Learner's Dictionary app?
Yeah, I downloaded in my iPhone. So when I opened, that was completely different with that right now I see in the computer.
Interesting. I don't know. I'll just tell you honestly, hey, but I've never used a dictionary app. I just always go to the website, even on my phone. So, and I don't know if I don't know is the real answer to your question. And I don't know, maybe you can try and get your money back for the app if you don't like it. But
I requested
yeah,
this and we will refund to you. Like that was not a big deal to me.
Okay,
Just like I'm asking about the like if you click cover vocabulary. So we have here like almost 3,000 academic words. See?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you can
cool.
Yeah. So they only pull up to me like 100 something, but doesn't have. If you click the next, can you click the next?
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. Okay.
There is no word that they say like 3,000 cover vocabulary words.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So maybe they just mean 3,000 total, like because the grouping here, this is kind of an organization question, but if you look at core vocabulary, maybe they mean 3,000 in all these different topics. So total, right? So sports, air, environment, all these words put together is 3,000 words. But that's interesting. But again, I've never even clicked that core vocabulary
this is real
link. But if we have people who are doing
yeah, this is really cool to me. Like they have a very interesting words and very academic. Like I use in my writing, like my writing teacher, they say like you use a beautiful word and important word.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I love this. Like I said, this is my favorite dictionary I've ever seen, and it's free. So that's why I just keep telling students. I'm glad it was useful for you, Hewat, and again,
thank you.
I like it too. Yeah, of course.
I have a question.
Anybody? Yeah, anybody else? We got probably time for one or two more shorties because I do want to talk about some stuff. But yes, please go ahead.
My question was teacher, the assignments. So we do lesson 6 and 7. So I did lesson 6. You didn't grade it yet. Then I don't know.
Correct.
I did good or not. But I want to learn. I mean, I don't know about the last one. I think lesson 7. So can you teach us today a little bit because I want to know more before I do my exercise assignment.
Yeah, of course. We're gonna. So yeah, if you and I'll say this to anybody who's watching too on the recording. If you're trying to finish a lesson and you don't understand it yet, I mean, you can just go for it and try. But again, come to Zoom, send me a text, send me an email. We can talk about it because, like I said, if you look at the agenda for today, right, today is to review the parts of speech, answer any questions that you still have together, and then get ready for the next tutorial. So yeah, we'll definitely keep reviewing parts of speech. Excuse me. So maybe we should just do it. Let's go. Time moves quick, so let's jump in. So quick parts of speech review. and making sure we're understanding as much as we can. So again, some of the most important things to remember when we're looking at the part of speech for a word, we have to do that in context. We have to see it in the sentence because that is going to give us clues about how it is working in the sentence. So we also have content and function words. Just reminders here, content words are nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. They have meaning by themselves. If you're Hewad and you're going to Learner's Dictionary and you type in that word, you get a definition with a meaning, right? That's a content word. If you're talking about function words now, here we're talking about pronouns, determiners, including articles. All articles are determiners, but there are other determiners in addition to articles. Auxiliaries, which include modals, but there are other auxiliaries in addition to modals, prepositions, and conjunctions. And remember, function words don't have meaning by themselves. They are basically the glue that holds English sentences together. And I think, like I said, the example from last week was if you type the into Learner's Dictionary, it will say the definite article in English, right? There's no specific vocabulary meaning for that word. Any questions about content and function words? Okay. Now, the other thing that we talked about in the video that Professor Ferris talked about in the book that I tried to review as I was reading the book to you guys in the video is once we start to understand content and function words, we can, and maybe we're not sure, right? The example from last week, the history museum. Well, usually history is a noun, but in this case, history came before a noun. It was modifying the noun. It was acting like an adjective, right? So Professor Ferris in the book talks about these different tests, not really tests, but different things we can do to understand the context to determine what part of speech we are looking at, right? So that's what I want us to sort of practice doing together. It's what you practice doing in some of the lessons if you've done them yet. Like I said, about half the class has done them. So if we look at the word below, what part of speech is this word? Now, we're probably going to get there pretty quickly, but what I really want us to practice is training our brains to ask, how do I know, right? If I said, give me evidence, right? How do I know what part of speech this word is? That's what I really want to practice doing. So Sacramento can be foggy in the winter. What is the part of speech here?
It's a noun.
Noun.
Now.
I've heard noun, 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 noun. Before we go on to the next step, does anyone disagree? Does anyone disagree that this is a noun?
No, this is noun.
I agree. So that's the easy part. Now, what's the hard? The hard part is if I said to me, prove it to me. How do we know it's a noun? Let's hear some there. I'd say there's at least 3 ways we know this is a noun. What are they?
Always the article used before noun.
After the.
Thank you. Thank you. It is preceded by an article.
Yeah.
Only nouns. Exactly right. I spelled that incorrectly. Thank you. It is preceded by an article. The. Great. You are absolutely correct. Articles only come before nouns. That is absolutely correct. So we got one of the tests, one of the ways we know it's a noun. What else?
The thing. So
Other one, in conjunction before the article.
Good. Hold on one second. So I think I heard Sekalam and I wanted to make sure I got what she said, which that it is a thing,
yes.
right?
Yeah. Thing.
Good. And this is the definition for most of you guys. If you took G50 or if you ever studied English in another country, what's a noun? A person, place, or thing. Okay, well, winter's a thing. It definitely fits that sort of rule that we've learned in the past. There's one more way that we can prove that this is a noun. I talked about it briefly last week. Hewad, what were you saying? Will you repeat? I didn't hear everything you said.
That was you like before the article we use the conjunction in.
Thank you very much. So yes, Hewad is pointing at the word in. That is very important, but in is not a conjunction. It is what?
Preposition.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Which session?
Yes.
It
In
ends,
is a preposition, and
which session?
remember I said there is an Go ahead, Hugh, go ahead.
Also, it's season.
It answer the question of
Yes.
which season. Which season?
I think we're on it with preposition now. Remember,
Object of preposition. Yeah.
that's it. Now, again, I know I only talked about this for about 5 or 10 minutes last week. This is a new concept, but remember, like I said, how do we know something's a noun? Well, if it's an object, right? Subjects and objects must be nouns. That's why gerunds, they look like verbs, but when I say swimming is fun, it looks like a verb, but it's the subject of a sentence. English grammar rules say, therefore, if it's a subject, it must be a noun. We have the same thing here. This is the object of a preposition. And I know, again, I went through this last week very quickly, but start to train your brain to see these things, right? Under the table, in the car, in my eye. What was Andre's example? Something about in my eye, on the bed, right? After prepositions, you've got to have a noun phrase, a subject noun phrase. And if it's a subject, then as I just said, it's a noun phrase. So the 3 tests, the 3 ways we can know that this is a noun is 1, it's a thing, right? It's a season. It's a content word with a meaning by itself. It's preceded by an article. That means an article comes before it, and it is the object of a preposition. Using all of these different tests, now it's like being in a writing class where I say, prove, show me your sources, right? This is the way to prove, yep, this has got to be a noun. There's no doubt about it. In the context of this sentence, this word must be a noun. 1, does this example make sense? And 2, does this way of saying, how do you know the part of speech make sense? Because you're going to practice it 2 more times in lessons. And I'll tell you right now, next week, I'm going to introduce the first writing assignment, the first major, 100-point writing assignment. And this is the first thing I'm going to have you practice doing in that big assignment, which is identify the part of speech, but even more importantly, tell me how you know. So I really want to make sure that this idea of tell me how you know makes sense. So questions about this example. We're going to practice 3 or 4 more times together, but questions now.
Hi, Professor, I have
Ooh.
a question. I
Sandy,
thought
tell me, let's go.
in our assignment, we have similar quiz. And in that quiz, should we have to have 3 ways to explain, put explanation here, or either 1 or 2 is okay?
Oh yeah, exactly. I think I don't remember if did I say in the instructions a minimum number? Now, Sandy,
No, you
again,
didn't. You didn't,
I know my
just
students.
confirm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
confirm.
again, I'll tell you right now too, for people, yeah. And Sandy, I don't know exactly why you're asking, but usually when students ask this type of question, it's because they're worried about grades and points. I will tell you right now, for the lessons, I give away points like candy, okay? So now the writing assignments, that's where I'll be very specific, Sandy. I'll say, give me 3 reasons, give me 2 reasons, give me 2 ways you know what part of speech. So if I'm, again, points in lessons, I'm pretty generous, Sandy. I'm pretty generous.
You have writing too, huh?
Yeah, just want to meet your requirement for the homework. Yeah, if there
Of course,
no
I know.
special number, I think at least 1 is enough. It's okay.
I think you'll be fine,
okay,
Cindy. I think you'll be fine.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I try to be a pretty transparent and honest. So like I said, the lesson's pretty easy. When I introduce the first project next week, that's when I'll say, I really want this, right? Be specific. So yeah, let's do another one together. Look at the word below. What part of speech is this word? How do you know? Sacramento can be very foggy in the winter. What part of speech?
Adverb.
Adjective.
I heard adjective and I heard adverb.
Adverb. Adverb. Very.
I heard adverb. I heard mostly adjective. So let's go with adverb and let's see if we can make the rules fit. So let's see, how do we know it's an adverb?
Modify for the adjective.
Yeah, this is
modify adjective. Yeah.
Okay, the word is modifying an adjective. Absolutely. Can we give any other Any other ways we know what part of speech?
The Lego.
Also, before the adjective,
Select.
Go ahead, Amanda, go ahead.
also it's more describe this the adjective.
Yes, it is modifying the adjective.
Mm-hmm.
And remind me, was this word in tutorial 1 or not? Or do we save this for when we get to adverbs?
Intensifier.
Did you see that? Is this in Language Power tutorial 1?
The degree of the adverb in
Perfect. That's exactly right. So exactly right. It's not only modifying the adjective, it's talking about how much. I think we were talking about this too, like it answers why or how, it gives us WH information questions. And that's exactly right. It is an intensifier. It gives us WH information. In this case, how foggy. And I'll tell you guys right now, generally, you know, when we're using an adverb to modify an adjective, it very often is an intensifier, right? The test was hard. It was very hard. It was so hard, right? We use these adverbs as a way to intensify, give more information about how much the degree of the adjective is, right? And I'll ask another question. Is this a content word, a function word?
Function word.
Is it?
Yeah.
Now we can make our life hard, but let's wait until G320 to make our life hard. Look at the chart. I promise I will never fool you or lie to you. Nouns, verbs, adjective, adverbs are content words. We said that this is an adverb. So is it a content or function word?
Content.
Content.
Now, I understand then students, because again, you're all very smart students. Students are like, but if you Google very, that doesn't really have a meaning. I understand. I will, again, come to 320. We can make life hard there. But for now, I want to get the sort of foundation here for us before we start to make life difficult, okay? Great. So yes, for people who said it's an adjective, I completely understand why you would say that. But for us this semester, I think the way that language actually works in Professor Ferris's book, this is an adverb. It comes before an adjective. It modifies the adjective. It gives us intensifier, WH information. The word is modifying an adjective. Let me add that too. It comes before the adjective. And as we'll see, when we start to look at adverbs more closely, we have a whole tutorial just for adverbs. Once we get comfortable with parts of speech, phrases, and clauses, that's the first month really, you guys, is parts of speech, phrases, and clauses, because there's a lot going on there. But when we look at adverbs by themselves, you'll start to see where they happen, where they come in the sentence is very important, So when I say, oh, it's an intensifier that comes before the adjective it modifies, that is also very important information as we decide parts of speech, okay? Questions about this example before we look at the next one?
So we can say very adverb of degree, right?
Yes, adverb of degree. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, how hot? Very hot. And again, all of these are adjective examples, right? It is hot, how hot? Very hot. Difficult? Very difficult. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely, it's about degrees. How much? How many? How little? Whatever.
It's very good.
Love it. It's so good. It's so One more. Sacramento can be very foggy in the winter. What part of speech is this?
It's verb.
Adverb.
Oh, I heard verb. I heard auxiliary. I heard
auxiliary.
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 I heard
No,
mostly.
It's not verb.
Are you changing your
verb.
mind? It's not a verb. Okay, let's try auxiliary and see if we can make the rules. How do we know it's an auxiliary?
Auxiliary is before the main verb.
Also the B form.
Good. What other information?
And also auxiliary.
The question?
Mm,
No.
say again, Veronica. It's a
question.
It is
function word. Yeah, function word.
function.
Yeah. Okay.
Function
Good.
word.
And also we can say this.
It's a model auxiliary.
Yeah, it is absolutely. That is, Hugh added something here. It is good. Absolutely. Someone else was talking before that good example about modals. Who else had something to add?
We also we can say the possibility. If you take the situation.
Exactly right. And that's actually exactly connected to what Hugh was saying about modals here, right? This is a modal of possibility. If it's a modal, really, you know, again, I'm thinking of Sandy now. If I said, give me just one rule to prove, you know, what part of speech, the rule here really could be, at least again, from Professor Ferris's book, right? All modals are auxiliaries. This is a modal, so it's got to be an auxiliary. Now, this is something that's difficult, and there's not one perfect answer for it, but I'm sort of, again, trying to force you to think about grammar in a different way here. How do we know that this is, I guess we just answered it. We don't need to, let's again, stop talking, Jeff. We don't need to make it difficult yet. It's only week 3. Do we want to add anything else here to how we know this is an auxiliary? It comes before the main verb. It is a function word. It doesn't have meaning by itself. It is a modal, and all modals are auxiliaries. And in fact, Hewad gave us that great example. This is a modal of possibility. Any other information or ways we know that this is an auxiliary? Love it. You guys seem comfortable and confident to me. It's hard to know because it's Zoom, but you guys seem pretty comfortable with this. I think I've got one more example for us to practice.
Yeah,
yep. Sacramento can Sacramento can be very foggy in the winter.
Reposition.
Yep. How do we know?
Rules is before the season.
Amanda's on it. It is, let's do it this time. It is followed by, that means what comes after the preposition. It is followed by
noun.
The article.
Thank you. And
for
not
the noun.
Go ahead, Hugh. Yep.
Article.
Yep. And again, good. And yep. Yes. An article and a noun. And as we're And as we're going to talk about today, I'm going to introduce, we're going to spend a lot more time on it next week, but it is followed by an object noun phrase, right? And remember, this is sort of introducing our tutorial too here, but remember, a phrase just means more than, well, no, I'm going to stop talking. The phrase is, the noun phrase is this, the winter, right? The winter is the noun phrase that comes after the preposition. The winter is the object noun phrase. So if I see a word that's followed by an object noun phrase, that's again a big clue. Could be a preposition, might be a preposition, right? I'll add one more.
It shows also place.
Action word.
Good. It is a function word. It has no meaning by itself. And actually, I'm just going to go back to, I think someone, I forget, I don't know if it was Tiffany or someone was saying, there's one other rule that I want to point out. Yes. Go, tell us.
I say it also shows.
It shows place.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if we look at, I'm going to pull the PDF here so we can look at it together here. And again, if you haven't done the homework yet or the lessons, it's still good for you all to see this. If you're watching the recording, you know, where she's talking about prepositions. Again, she gives the sort of rules for understanding prepositions here on page, oops, let me zoom out again, on page 17. And where does she describe? Again, the first thing she says here on page 17, right? A prepositional phrase is a preposition followed by a noun phrase. I was trying to see if I could get the exact sentence where she talked about what prepositions do. She really doesn't give more information than that, does she? And again, I'd say if you're reviewing with me here in the Zoom together, or if you're watching in the recording, again, hey, what's up? These two things here are the most important about what a preposition is. Prepositions are signal words that begin prepositional phrases. A prepositional phrase is a preposition followed by a noun phrase. And kind of like what Tefri was saying there, it does give us, like, why do we use prepositions? Again, it's a way to link two different things. So what we're trying to talk about is when it can be foggy, right? So we use these prepositional phrases to give more context and meaning to the sentence. And again, I'm slowing down here because even for me, and I'm very comfortable with English grammar, it is hard to explain what a preposition is because it's a function word, right? I can't tell you, oh, it's the season when the snow comes and everyone's really cold. Oh, that's winter. It has meaning. It's a content word. Prepositions are the purest of the pure function words, right? They don't have meanings by themselves, but they do help shape sentences. So it's really tricky. And again, I'll just say one more time, if I ever ask you to prove that a preposition is a preposition, the easiest and the best way to do it is it comes before an object noun phrase, right? Like that's the one most important sort of test for figuring out prepositions. I know I sort of talked through a lot there. Any questions about prepositions or this example or anything?
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Please, yes.
Yeah, first, hello, everybody. I wish everybody's fine. Sir, while I was doing my assignments, like I have done all my assignments and assignment like tutorial number 6, question number 12, up, UP. It used to be as a preposition, but when I was doing this assignment, so I selected as a preposition, but my answer was incorrect, but it took it like auxiliary. I don't know how it is possible up can be an auxiliary verb. If you explain that, sir.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that. Excellent question. I want to talk about this. Up.
Yes, sir.
Let me say this. Prepositions versus aux. This is really important to talk about, so I'm really glad you brought it up. It is difficult to understand. It was in the tutorial, but it's really important to talk about. So wait, let's just go there. Let's go there. Hold on. Let me make the text the same size here. Okay, this is very important. So, I want to use a better one so that the meaning's more clear.
Give was a phrasal verb, right, sir?
Yeah. Exactly. This is what makes it so difficult. Is yes, that's exactly right. Is the preposition does the word up don't give up. Okay, let's do this. I think this is a clear enough example. I hope. If not, I can try and come up with another one. Okay, don't give up. So remember, last week I said, even though this is a command, right? So even though it doesn't look like this sentence has a subject, remember with commands, we're going to start to talk about subject phrases today. So this one has this sort of secret subject in here. So here's our subject for both you, right? Whoever I'm talking to, that's the subject of the sentence. Now, we know the next thing we have to do is to look for the verb. So in this one, don't give up. What's the verb?
Give.
Give up.
Give.
Actually, I'm going to get rid of why can't my brain just stop working, you guys? The contraction. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm the English teacher and I couldn't think of the word for contraction. Do not give up. Good. So I heard give is the verb.
Up is auxiliary.
So
no, do not
is up
do is as a verb here, sir. Do can be as a verb.
The second is the preposition of the first, not preposition. Yeah, we call it not connect. Not
thank
connect.
you. This really is the test that is the most important for the way we're going to talk about it this class. Don't give up. Now, is up can often be a preposition, but we're asking and trying to practice the difference between a preposition and an auxiliary. In this case, let me just say, is up a preposition or an auxiliary? And how do we know?
This is a preposition, sir, because it came before, after a verb. That's like a phrasal verb.
No, this is not. This is
verb
auxiliary.
Verb plus preposition.
If it's preposition, they have to be before this the verb.
Yeah,
but it's not a preposition. It's auxiliary.
Look like
that's right.
adverb.
That's right. That's right. This is usually what happens with students who are really good students who studied grammar in another class or with a different teacher, maybe even at ARC. But I'm here to tell you, I don't even think that this is my opinion. Any teacher who taught you that a phrasal verb is a verb plus a preposition, that is just not true. That's wrong. Because we know it can't be a preposition because by definition, a preposition has to have an object noun phrase after it. So that's why in this example, do not give up. Give is the verb. Up has to be an auxiliary. It has to be part of the verb, really, right? Connected to the verb, and all these really. Now we could have a debate. Now I do think we could have a debate about whether is not an auxiliary or not, is not a verb or not a verb. That's fine. Some people even, again, at UC Davis, people who are obsessed with language, linguists might tell you not as an whatever. It doesn't really matter. In this class, you guys, I'm never going to tell you to tell me what this not is. It does not matter. But what I will tell you, I know Dana, Professor Ferris, who wrote the book, she's right about it. And what I'm teaching you is right. In this sentence, up is not a preposition. It's not. And that's why, again, why do I spend the first 2 weeks talking about context matters? There's no noun. There's no noun phrase after that word up, so it can't be a preposition. Meanwhile, in the second sentence, now I will say for anyone who's curious, if you really wanted to, I think at a more basic level, if you wanted to call give up by both of this, if you wanted to say both words are the verb, excuse me, I'm open to that argument. You could call it a compound verb, the two words go together, but I'm here to tell you no matter what, that up is not a preposition in that sentence, right? So, but the way Dana teaches in the book, the way I like to teach is that give is a verb, up is an auxiliary. Now in the second sentence, up is a preposition because what do we have after it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Noun.
This is an NP.
Noun phrase.
Notice an NP. Yeah, thank you. NP stands for noun phrase. Notice we don't have an article here. We actually have but we do have a determiner. We have a possessive determiner. Don't get scared. We're going to talk about that a lot more next week. You have a determiner and you have a noun. That makes it a noun phrase. This is an object NP. This is the object of the preposition up, and here give is still the verb. Now, I do not expect you guys to understand this perfectly and be able to answer every question or look at every example of this perfectly after today, right? But I do hope that what I just explained makes sense, and that as you start to think about grammar differently, you start to go, okay, what's coming after this? If I'm going to use a preposition, do I have an object noun phrase after it? If I'm trying to use a phrasal verb, can I split that phrasal verb up? I mean, this is really important because there are so many phrasal verbs in English. So even if, like I said, I don't expect you to be like, yes, I know how to do this for every example sentence I'll ever see. That is not what I expect today. But I hope that this example of how do I start to tell the difference between up as a preposition and up as an auxiliary is making a little sense. If not, let's keep talking about it.
Let's keep talking because I don't understand.
To be honest,
It really hard because auxiliary it's more for nouns. Yes, am I right?
Auxiliaries are more for nouns. No, auxiliaries are almost always connected to verbs.
To verbs. So preposition, it's connection to the nouns. Most of it.
There it is. That's exactly correct. Preposition, not even mostly, I think only, really. Like the only, because again, this isn't always rule. If it's a preposition, in the context of the sentence, if up, in, at, of, under, by, to, for, if any of those words are acting like prepositions in the context of the sentence, they must have an object noun phrase after them. So the way you describe that is perfect. Auxiliaries go to, connect, modify verbs. Prepositions must be linked to an object noun phrase. Absolutely, absolutely. How about some more examples then?
Up.
All I want to look at is this. I want down. Down is what I'm interested in. I'll give you guys the verb. Well, we've got multiple verbs because I made a longer sentence. Here I have subject, I think, but let's just worry about turn. Okay, let's just worry about turn. Turn's the verb.
Yeah.
I want a different color so that it's more clear. In all three sentences, turn is the verb. Tense doesn't matter. Now, we've got, I don't think you should turn it down. Turn down the TV. He turned down. Let's look at the first one.
Down.
What do we got? Is down an auxiliary or a preposition?
Is a preposition, sir?
I think it's auxiliary.
How do we know?
Down can be
auxiliary.
Oh, it can be an auxiliary, sir. This is my first time heard down as an auxiliary or up as an auxiliary.
Noun. It is noun.
Of course, I know. Actually, let's do this one last because it's the hardest one. So let's do the easy one. Let's do the easy ones. This is where phrasal verbs are horrible for grammar because it's like they break their own rules, right? They break the rules of English grammar a little bit. So let's do this one. Turn down the TV. Hugh says it's a preposition.
It's a preposition.
Preposition.
No.
No, this is the preposition because after
now pray. After that, now pray.
Yep. That's right. That's the rule. Followed by a noun phrase, right? And even if it's, well, we'll look at the example, but am I turning something down? Is something going down? Yes. The TV, in this case, the volume, right? The volume of the TV is going down. So turn down the TV, okay? How about this one? He turned down.
Aux.
He turned down.
How do we know?
No one knows. What I have studied personally, sir, if we say turn down, it is a separable phrasal verb. If we say turn it down, it's going to be an inseparable phrasal verb. I don't know beyond that, to be honest.
Well, now you're getting at something that's really, really important. So usually, I'd say 90%, I'm just sort of imagining that number, 90% of English sentences that don't use phrasal verbs, the object noun phrase is almost always going to come after the preposition. The one big exception is phrasal verbs, right? Because in this case, I I don't think you should turn it down. Yes, it does not come after the verb, but clearly this is the thing being turned down, right? This really, this small little two-letter word is an object. So it still is the object of a preposition, and down is a preposition. Now, this is why it's such a good example to talk about phrasal verbs, because phrasal verbs, it feels like, when I teach this, it almost feels like, I'm going to go to Learner's Dictionary again. I'm thinking of what's good praising of it. Do you guys know this word? A little bit of vocab for you guys today.
Yeah, I know.
Contradiction, right? A contradiction, it's the act of saying something that's opposite or very different in meaning. The difference between two things. It's like, so contradiction would be like saying something, what would be a really dramatic example? I don't know, like someone in my family died and I'm really happy. Like that sounds like a contradiction. It sounds like those two things don't go together, right? And so I mentioned this word contradiction because this feels like a contradiction to the rule about prepositions, which is prepositions must be followed by an object noun phrase. But in this case, because phrasal verbs are so strange, because some can be separated and not separated, and actually I don't like separated and unseparable. I like to say transitive and intransitive. If you have a phrasal verb that can take an object, and if you don't know the difference between transitive and intransitive, wait until language power tutorial. Well, wait till we talk about verbs for 2 weeks. If that phrasal verb is going to take an object, which means it's transitive, it means that in that one example, in the example of phrasal verbs, you can separate the verb from its auxiliary, shove the object in the middle, but it's still acting. If it takes the object, now it's no longer an auxiliary, it's a preposition, right? Because it is taking an object. It's still, there's still this thing that is being turned down. And because we could also say, yeah, that's all I want to say. That's all I want to say. And notice also, some of this also has to do with the special, how special pronouns are, right? Because I could say, this is incorrect, right? I don't think you should turn down it. This you can't say. You have to put the object in between the verb and the preposition. But in this case, I don't think you should turn down the TV. We've got the exact same sentence. We're using the actual proper noun with the article and, well, it's not a proper noun, but you know, the name of the thing. And here we do get the object after the preposition, right? Turn is still a verb in this example, and down is still a preposition. So again, it feels like contradictions because, what can I say? One thing that I love about teaching grammar is trying to show you guys how, like I said, about 90% of the time, if you practice the rules I teach you in this class, you'll be fine. But what that means is, and why it's painful is, there are these weird exceptions where it's not that simple. And most of the time, this is my belief now, my feeling as a grammar teacher, I think most teachers spend their time talking about the 10%, the exceptions, and we'll talk about them. But I think it's so much better to focus on the 90% and be like, you know what, if you do this, most of the time you're going to be fine. And wait until we talk about commas, and because there's basically only 3 comma rules. Now, there are still special exceptions that make commas really tricky, but so just because phrasal verbs are weird doesn't mean the rule that I'm teaching you about prepositions take an object noun phrase is wrong. Does that make sense? Oh, I talked way too long there. I can see the people whose faces I see look scared and sad, so I talked too long. I'm sorry.
So okay, Jeff, okay. It's
stop
incorrect.
Me, stop me, tell me, shut up.
It's incorrect when we say, I don't think you should turn down it. But if we say, I don't think you should turn the TV down, it will incorrect?
Yep.
Why?
No, that is correct. That is correct. And that has to do with rules about pronouns. And that's a G320 question. All the little rules about pronouns, come take G320. We're not going to spend 2 weeks talking about pronouns. You will want to kill me if we do that in this class. We stick with the big picture stuff. But that's a great example. I don't think you should turn down the TV. I don't think you should turn the TV down.
So grammarly, it's.
I don't think. I forgot a word.
So grammarly,
Correct.
it's correct.
The only one that's incorrect is this one. And again, I wish I could tell you there's a reason why, but there's not. Like, I wish I could teach you the rule. This is just one of those 10% of the exceptions where, like, this for really, all the rules that the 90% of English works by, this should be correct, really, but it's not. And I'm sorry, I didn't invent the language, I just teach it. We're so sad. But this is, if I can make you a little bit happy, all I'll say is I'm never going to test you on stuff like this, you guys. And if you learn the rule, is the preposition followed by a noun phrase? You guys are, like I said, you guys are going to be right 90% of the time. So I don't want you, if you can, I don't want you to stress and be afraid of, but what about phrasal verbs? Try not to, especially because if you're taking G310, you probably want to take an associate's degree or transfer or something like that. And usually you don't use phrasal verbs in academic writing. So this rule is important for understanding how English works, but for the type of English use you need at US college level, this is not something that will be too big of a problem for you guys, if that's any comfort at all. Let me do one more and see if I can change people's sad faces here. What did I do? Turn down, give up. I didn't turn in my homework. I didn't turn it in. Did you turn it in yet? What I want is the word in. That's what I'm looking at in these 3 examples. Preposition or auxiliary?
The second one is preposition.
Preposition. The first one, preposition.
No, second one is aux.
Auxiliary, yeah.
The first one.
The second one is the preposition.
How do you know?
Because the adjective.
It's
why?
Adjective, yeah.
Object.
Oh, I'm so sorry to scare you guys. Especially students who are good students and took other grammar classes, and now I'm teaching you that what your teachers taught you is wrong. But I'm sorry, it's not my fault that they were wrong, but they are wrong. These books were wrong.
So the noun can be before preposition?
Only in phrasal verbs.
Okay.
Only in phrasal verbs. And again, the rule here has much more to do with transitive and intransitive verbs, which we haven't talked about transitive and intransitive. We are going to talk about them. And really what these examples show you is the king, the queen, the king and the queen together of all English sentences is the verb. The verb is way more powerful than anything else in the sentence. And in this case, because we're comparing phrasal verbs with prepositions, in that case, how do I want to explain this? I mention verbs because transitive and intransitive just refers to does a verb take an object or not take an object. Some verbs must take an object, right? And now I don't want to say too much more about this. You know why? Because I want to make sure I introduce LPT2, which starts to talk about subjects and verbs, because I'm curious, can you give me thumbs up? Transitive and intransitive verbs. Have you guys heard about that? Have you studied it? Do you know what it is? No, thumbs down if you have not, thumbs up if you have. Transitive and intransitive.
What is it?
I haven't studied, but I forgot the
Good.
examples.
Perfect. I love that. Then this is what I'm saying. Let's wait to talk about this in like a week or two, because when you do Language Power Tutorial 2, you're going to get much more information about what verb phrases are, why they're so powerful, because for me to explain why this is, I kind of have to be able to talk about transitive and intransitive verbs. And so it's not worth it to do that all today. All that I want to train your brain, the major takeaway from today, I hope, is preposition. To be a preposition must take an object noun phrase. 90% of the time, that noun phrase is going to come after the preposition. But because verbs are so powerful in English, and transitive and intransitive rules about verbs are so powerful in English, this is different with phrasal verbs.
I think
that's the big rule, and I will explain much more about verbs, transitive and intransitive, when we talk about verbs.
So
what else?
Let's do something else. No, I think someone.
I'm about ready to.
Yeah.
So if my classmates they don't mind, so I think most of us don't know what is up, how can be as an auxiliary verb, or how the preposition or stuff. If you give us a kind of link or reference, we can go ahead and study the basics of these differences. Then we'll talk about it, like you said, in transitive and intransitive verb.
Yeah,
because
it
takes more time. It takes more time for everybody because it is totally different and we cannot understand. To be honest, I didn't understand. And we will talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna type. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I see on lesson 5 or 6, question 5. So the question say, you have met my mother, comma, haven't you? So when I search it on Google, it says met is transitive verb.
Yes, because all preview, small preview. This sentence.
Yeah.
Is this a sentence? I met. Is this a sentence?
Yes.
Nope.
No, that's not
Is
the
a
sentence. No.
Past form of the mean.
Past tense the verb.
Why this I met is an example of a transitive verb. It must take an object. You can't just say I met. A native speaker is going to go, you met who? You met what? I need the object that comes after the verb. That's the only thing that transitive and intransitive refers to. So I met, you can't say this. This verb meet, it must take an object. That's the rule that we're going to practice in a couple of weeks. That's my like 2-second explanation.
Jeff, there was
yes.
in the tasks what you gave. You met my mother? Haven't you? Yeah, it was in a task, and so met it's the verb.
And haven't you is the tag question.
Yep.
And there need to explanation. How did I how did I understand it's a verb? You have met my mother, haven't you?
Have as an ox. This is the subject. Met has to be the verb. And my mother is the object. This whole thing is the object NP.
Ah, my mother is an object. Okay.
Yes, and my is a determiner, and mother is the noun. But the whole thing together, which we're going to talk about today, is how words come together to make phrases. So these two words together are the object NP, but if we separate them individually, my is a determiner and mother is the noun.
The object noun, right, sir?
Yep, object noun phrase, exactly correct. Yeah, exactly. If we're going to say, yeah, if you tell me, yes, if you can tell me I must choose one word for the object, yes, it would be mother, 100%.
So met is not transitive verb?
It is, because it must take an object, right? Like I said, it is because you can't say this. You can't say, you have met, period. You can't say it. We need the rest of it, right? We need, it must take that object. It must take that object. And this thing that I'm saying, some verbs must take an object, that's where we were getting into trouble with auxiliary versus preposition with phrasal verbs. That's how powerful verbs are in English grammar. If they must take an object, all the rules change if they must take an object.
And these transitive and intransitive verbs.
I'm going to stop. Yes, and like I said, we'll get there. We'll get transitive and intransitive just means object or no object. That's what it means.
Right.
In order to be a preposition, the word must take an object, noun, phrase. 90% of the time, that object NP comes after the preposition. So I know people were saying, Jeff, we're already getting into some specific details. We're already kind of going there. I love it. It's great. But if there's only one thing you take away from this review, please, please, please don't overthink too much. In order to be a preposition, the word must take an object, noun, phrase 90% of the time. That object, noun, phrase comes after the preposition, okay? We'll talk about the exceptions, but I want to make sure this, again, if you're watching the recording, this is the rule to remember today, right? This is the rule to remember. I love it. This class is already, we're going there. I love it.
Today everybody's confused. Everybody's confused.
That's my job. My job is to scare you and confuse you at the beginning, and then I promise in 6 weeks you'll be like, oh yeah.
And you're okay. Sir, and you're making us to forget whatever we have studied.
Well, yeah, that's fair. Okay, now this discussion, but again, the only reason I'm doing it is because I promise it's going to make, when you're writing sentences for college classes, it's going to be so much easier, you guys. I promise you that. I promise you that. There's an idiom, I'll put it in the chat, that I strongly believe in. Short-term pain, long-term gain. Pain right now, joy in the future. I promise you. I promise you. Okay, so I want to introduce this. I'm looking at the clock. Okay, yeah, I want to introduce this. So we will not introduce all of this. We're going to go very slow. We can talk about parts of speech next week in connection with subjects and verbs. But one of the reasons that it is important to introduce this is, like I was saying, if we're determining between, for example, possessive determiners and possessive pronouns. If we're trying to make and understand the difference between a preposition and an auxiliary and a phrasal verb, we have to think about subjects and verbs because verbs are so powerful. So I'm going to introduce some of the material that's in Language Power Tutorial 2, which is characteristics of subjects and verbs. Now, a characteristic, more vocabulary here, is a special quality or trait that makes a person, thing, or group different from others. So that's what we mean. These are special parts of subjects and verbs. Now, in general, the noun in a sentence answers the question, what is this sentence about, right? And in general, the verb in a sentence, let me make this more specific actually too. I forgot a word on this slide. This is important. Thank you. The subject noun in a sentence answers the question, what is this sentence about? And in general, the verb in a sentence answers the question, what does the sentence say about the subject? So for example, my sister Amy went to the beach. What is the sentence about? Who is it about? Amy, my sister. What does the sentence say about the subject? Amy went to the beach, right? Now, again, in this class, you should all be pretty comfortable with this. But of course, you also know now, because your level is high enough, that it's not always this simple. So there are some really important characteristics to remember about subjects. So here's the first characteristic. All of these are in your book, by the way, and I have a recording, a longer video for that tutorial. So a subject can be one word or a larger noun phrase. And a subject noun phrase can be replaced by a pronoun. So Sacramento is the capital of California. What is the subject in that sentence?
Sacramento.
Sacramento.
Right. One word, it comes right before the verb. Easy, our dream sentence. But by 310, and when you start to write papers, you cannot write sentences with just one word subjects the whole time. It starts to feel very low level, right? Work is hard. I like this. We are happy. It is nice. I mean, these type of sentences, these type of simple sentences with very simple subjects, they don't really work at higher levels, right? That's why we get examples like the capital city is getting bigger every year. What's the subject in this sentence?
City. Capital city. The capital city.
City.
Now, good. Now we're going to talk about this together. Remember, I said on this slide page, a subject can be a noun or a noun phrase, right? And in fact, we'll look at this on the next slide. So let's say this. I'm saying you can only choose one word that is the subject of this sentence. The capital city. What's the one word?
City.
City.
Yes. Yes, I agree. City. Yes, Ing says city as well, and I agree with Ing. I agree with everybody who's saying city. But if I say, what's the whole noun phrase? It's more than one word. They're all acting together to act like the subject noun phrase. What's that subject noun phrase?
The capital city.
Capital city.
Good, because remember, if a subject noun phrase can be replaced by a whole pronoun, right? Because we could say the capital city is getting bigger every year. We could also say it is getting bigger every year, right? We could use one pronoun to replace all three of those words, right? So more tests for starting to think about, okay, one noun, that's the subject, that's also the noun phrase, great. I'm sorry for the noise you guys can hear outside. The capital city is getting bigger every year. Well, we can replace that whole phrase, the capital city, with a pronoun. And how about this much longer, much more academic sentence? A good quality of life and lower stress levels are two reasons people move to Sacramento. Give me just one word.
People.
Level.
Hard.
Level.
Right?
People.
Maybe
Level.
can we even really just do one word? Is there really just one word that represents the whole subject here? So what if I tell you, okay, tell me what's the whole subject noun phrase then? What's the whole subject NP here?
A good quality of life and lower stress level.
You got it. Hugh is on it. I'm trying to go to the next slide here. Absolutely right, right? Hugh got it. So a good quality of life and lower stress levels. We could really replace that entire phrase with one word, right? They are two reasons people move to Sacramento. But we couldn't just say they and lower stress levels are. You couldn't say a good quality of life and they. You need one single pronoun to replace the entire noun phrase. And of course, that's the most difficult and complex example, but it's the same rule here. It's the same grammatical structure in all three sentences. Sacramento, one word, noun phrase, subject NP. The capital city, three words, right? But they all serve as the subject noun phrase. And a good quality of life and lower stress levels, all those words together come before the verb, and that whole phrase really is the subject of the sentence.
Sir, I got a quick question.
Let's go.
I got a quick question in second sentence, sir, in the capital city.
Love it.
Sir, of course, as you said, the capital city can be as a subject phrase or subject of the sentence, but to think like logically, the capital city cannot be like object of the sentence in here because it is receiving the action.
No, it's not the object. It's not the object. It's the subject.
But how about it's getting?
It's the thing. Well, let's go back to this rule. In general, the subject in a noun answers, what's this sentence about? What is this sentence about?
Getting bigger.
That's what's happening. That's the verb. That answers, what does the sentence say about the subject? That's the action. It's really about the capital city getting bigger, right? Getting bigger is the action. The subject, what the sentence is about, this sentence would be, what if we replaced it? Well, let me ask you this. What if we just said this? I'll go back and fix this, but let's just keep it one word. Sacramento is getting bigger every year. What's this sentence about?
So, of course,
it's about Sacramento.
About Sacramento, yes.
I agree. Tell me. Yeah, I'm here to answer questions. What? Tell me.
I have a question.
Yeah, let's go.
In the third sentence, a good quality of life and lower stress level. How can we replace this whole sentence into the one? We can say they are. Why they?
Or these. Well, because in this case, they or these would be, well, we're going to talk about pronouns a little bit, mostly as possessives and determiners, but because these are pronouns, right? They or these are two reasons, da, 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 da. So we could use these pronouns to replace the entire noun phrase.
They are two reasons. Two reasons. What reasons? Someone can ask a question.
So one reason is it's challenging to talk about pronouns unless you see the entire. Well, look. See, pronouns are hard to talk about unless you see the entire sentence or paragraph, right? Because pronouns almost always have to refer back to some kind of noun that has already been introduced earlier in the sentence or in the paragraph, right? But hopefully this little mini paragraph can give you an example of this, Andre. Sacramento is the capital of California, period. The capital city is getting bigger every year, period. There are many reasons people move to Sacramento, including, oh, sorry, I needed an lowercase a, including a good quality of life and lower stress levels. These, now when I say these, I'm talking about this noun phrase, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense because if it's separate, the sense is losing.
Well, yes, that's true. But I want to also explain something because I want to. I need to remind myself not to scare you guys too much. So remember, the focus of this lesson is subjects, okay? But this is a good example and a good question because you see the difference here. This including a good quality of life, well, actually not the word including. We can talk about what including is later in the semester, but a good quality of life and lower stress levels is still a noun phrase, okay? A good quality of life and lower stress levels is still a noun phrase, but in this sentence now, it's not a subject noun phrase, right? And again, phrases and clauses, that's tutorial 3. So we're going there very soon, but before we talk about phrases and clauses, you really have to start to understand subjects and verbs. And again, subjects, again, we teach you, oh, the subject's the word before the verb. Well, sometimes it's just one word, right? Sometimes it's very obvious what the subject is. But this type of sentence, a good quality of life and lower stress levels are 2 reasons. This is not really even an advanced sentence at all. But I would argue there's some intense grammar going on in that sentence, even though the meaning of it is not very advanced at all. So again, the only difference I'm trying to make here is this is a subject NP, but when we think about replacing that subject NP with a pronoun here, it's still a noun phrase in this example sentence that I just came up with, but it's no longer the subject. And this preposition, oh my God, forgive me. My brain's shutting down too. This pronoun is replacing this object NP.
The terminal. So the
question,
Professor,
Andre, does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Hugh, go ahead.
So they now we become the terminal. No, back the terminal. This here, he become a determiner.
No, this is going to be an subject pronoun.
Pronoun.
Now again, the difference between possessive determiners and possessive pronouns. This is so hard. And
sorry, sir. No, without R, for these two reasons.
But then that was my mistake, Hugh, because this isn't a sentence. These two reasons people moved to Sacramento. This isn't a sentence because there's no verb. So that was just a teacher. That's just what happens when I'm coming up with examples. That's just what happens when I come up with examples live, Hugh. Thank you for correcting. Thank you for helping me correct my my forgetting my verb. Okay, but I want to go back to this slide here. No, truly, thank you. So the first characteristic, we're only going to have time to talk about the first two, and that's totally fine. So the first characteristic is a subject noun phrase can be one word or a group of words. I think you guys are pretty much there with me. That seems like it makes sense to you guys. And a subject noun phrase can be replaced by a pronoun, even if we're not sure how or why in different examples. Does that idea make sense? The subject NP can be replaced by a pronoun. We need to look at more examples, but does that concept make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Silence means yes. Okay, I'm going to introduce characteristic. I'm going to introduce characteristic 2, and then we're going to stop because I can see, I know what happens. It's like, even when we could do this in person, I see Zoom eyes. People are like, and then the brain shuts down. And then the brain shuts down. Okay, so let me talk about characteristic 2, and then we'll get out of here.
And they're making
thank you.
brain shut down too.
I know, believe me, I know. Okay, so I've just got another slide here again to explain this. It is the capital of California. It is getting bigger every year. Those are two reasons. These, those, they. Again, don't worry too much about pronouns and possessives. We go there. If this idea makes sense that we could replace that entire NP with a single word, then you're getting the rule that I want to introduce today. Okay. Characteristic 2, a noun phrase, subject noun phrase. Look at my typos. Subject noun phrases are usually at the beginning of a sentence. Many academic sentences begin with introductory elements, little words or little phrases that come before the subject. If we look at this sentence, so in general, the capital city of California is a growing city, although this may change as the cost of living goes up. What's the subject, either the subject or the subject noun phrase, depending how comfortable you are. What's the subject NP in this sentence?
The capital city.
The capital of California. The capital of city of California.
Whatever we're saying.
This academic sentence.
Whatever you've decided, the only thing that I want, sometimes students think, because like we were saying, they've taken other classes before, they go, oh, the subject must be the first noun that I see, right? It must be and that's why, again, in general is a prepositional phrase, actually. In is a preposition and general is the noun phrase. It's the object to the preposition in. Sometimes people think, oh, the object has to be so, or general's a noun. Okay, so, but what I'm trying to show you is, especially in academic writing, little words or little prepositional phrases or maybe adverbs, right? They can all come before the subject, especially in academic sentences, right? So is a conjunction, in general is a prepositional phrase, and as we've talked about here, the actual subject and phrase comes after those introductory elements, and it's the capital city of California, right? And if I were going to choose one word, that's the head, the real noun of that, I would choose city. I would say city. Capital is modifying city of California is a prepositional phrase that's included in the subject NP. But so I would say if you made me, Jeff, only choose one word, I would say city. But that's not the type of class this is. I'm never going to test you. Give me the one. I really want you to start thinking about subjects as subject noun phrases, because this is really what the type of reading you're going to be doing in your other classes. So does this make sense? Characteristic number 2. Stop me anytime.
This displays the capital city of California. This
is growing.
This, yeah, I love it. So yeah, Hugh is thinking about examples for replacing the subject NP, right? So yeah, this is a growing city. It is a growing city. I think it, this, those are kind of your only choices. But yeah, Hugh's practicing this rule from characteristic 1, right? Replaced by a pronoun here. So yes, exactly correct. You could say, so in general, it is a growing city. Absolutely. You could replace that whole subject NP with a pronoun. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good. Any other questions about characteristic 2? No, Jeff, you said we were going to leave early. Let's leave. So I've got much more to show you later, but let's do it next week. Let me tell you what I suggest you do though, so that you can be ready for next week. So here's my suggestions. 1, first, finish lessons 1 through 8 if you haven't, especially if you're watching this on the recording and you're not here with us, struggling and suffering with Professor Jeff's cruel grammar lessons. Finish those lessons if you haven't. I'll show you lesson 9 that's been posted. And I strongly suggest that you read LPT2, because all of these things I'm introducing, characteristics of subject noun phrases, that's what Language Power Tutorial is about, right? I wanted to introduce this to you in class today so that when you review that, you feel more comfortable and hopefully it'll be like review. Now, lesson 10 and 11, those are the 2 lessons that are all about Language Power Tutorial 2. They are in Canvas. If you want to try them, you can, but I haven't introduced them yet, and I'm going to spend much more time with them next week. I feel like, you know, one thing I love about online is we can be flexible. I can go fast if we understand. I can go slow if we need to explain more things, okay? So if you want to go to lesson 10 and 11, go ahead. But after today, I also strongly encourage you just wait, because I'm going to talk about everything that I'm asking you to study in more detail next week. So just to show you what this looks like in Canvas, if I go to student view, go to modules. So here, you know, we already know lesson 1, 1 through 8, all of that stuff that I introduced last week. We reviewed the parts of speech more this week. And Sandy's correct. I do need to finish giving the grades, of course, but that's, pray for your teachers with how much grading we have to do in Canvas. It's just insane, you guys. Now, discussion, lesson 9 is another, I know we need, it's, so yeah, I mean, it's my job. Don't feel too bad, but it's one thing that Zoom and Canvas, it just means so much more grading. It's just crazy. But lesson number 9 is just another discussion activity, a chance for you to post in Canvas. So it says, so far we've studied parts of speech. We've also learned that in order to truly understand English grammar, we must look at words, phrases, and clauses in context. So what's something new you've learned about English grammar by thinking about parts of speech in context? And how do you think this can help your writing and your speaking? Again, this is not a right or wrong answer, just a chance for you to think about some of the ideas we learn. And then of course, I make you write, because the more you write, the better your grammar will be. That I can promise you. And the other 2 lessons are about Language Power Tutorial 2. So like I said, if you want, hold on. If you want, read through, oh, where's my video for this? Oh, I might have to find this later. You know what? Yeah.
Sir, for most of
don't
tutorial,
worry about, please.
And parts of speech, you have put only same video for, like, from it was from number 2 to number 7 or 8 for parts of speech. They were the same video you put it, right?
Correct. Yes. And what will happen is for tutorial 1, I think 1 and 3, I don't remember, but Language Power Tutorial 1 is so important to understanding how we practice grammar that I make multiple lessons, right? More than 3 lessons from one tutorial. Usually that will never happen again, right? There'll be like 1 tutorial, 1 video with me talking about it, and then 1 lesson. So this is really the beginning of the semester is the only time that will be an issue. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, for 10 and 11, what I need to do is go back and review the YouTube video, see if I can find it. But like I said, if you're going fast, read LPT2, 23 through 41. That will give you all the information you need. Or if you feel like you'd rather come to class next week and let me finish my review for LPT2. If you want to wait to finish lesson 10 and 11 until next week, that's fine too. That's fine too. Questions?
Professor,
cool. That's all I got.
A lot of questions.
Ying, go ahead.
Yeah. My connection is not good today, so I missed the part of about the appendix. Appendix is in our textbook, but
no, if you're talking about for the syllabus quiz, Ying. Hold on, thank you. If you're talking about the syllabus quiz where it says Appendix A, Appendix B, Appendix C, this was a question at the beginning of class. That's in the syllabus. And if you want to, I think I still have it open actually. If you open the syllabus here and you go to page 3, at the very top, it says up here, Appendix A, Appendix B. Yep. You are not the only person to have that question. Other questions?
Thank you.
Yep. Now, I know we have lots of grammar questions, but like I said, you guys remember short-term pain, long-term gain. I promise in 3 weeks, you're going to be like, oh my God, this all makes sense. At least it makes more sense than it does today. So stick with me. I promise you will. I promise you'll get it. And I'm not the type of teacher who's going to punish you with low grades if you don't understand it. The whole point of learning something new is you don't understand it at first. That's called learning something. So at least that's the way I like to teach. So. Any questions about the lessons or LPT2 or anything just about business? Any business questions before I let you go?
So most of us didn't receive our book.
Goodbye. Did you, and that's totally fine. Did you find the stuff for you in Professor Jeff's course materials? The scans for LPT1? Did I put the PDF in here or just a video?
No, there was no PDF, sir.
PDF? Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought that I did, or maybe I don't even remember.
They were all videos, but only
I'm so sick.
Tutorial number 4, there was PDF. That's it.
Oh, that's just Jeff's mistake. I'm so sorry about that, you guys. Hold on, let me leave student view and do this. So if you guys want to stay and watch me do this, you can. But anyone, while I'm doing this, I can multitask. So are there any other questions or things I can help you with?
And I have a question, Professor.
Please. Oh, it's in here. I just didn't link it. I'm so sorry about that, everybody. That was completely my mistake. So yeah, for people who don't have books, hold on. So I'm here in course materials. And I'll just put this at the bottom, language power tutorial PDFs, LPT1, LPT2. That's all we need for right now. And then we'll see if people need me to post more while they're waiting for their books, we can, but.
We can find it from module, right?
Exactly. Oh, let me show you where to find this in here. Maybe I can put it in modules too, hold on. I'm so sick of Canvas, you guys. I feel like my whole life is in Canvas now, and I don't love it. I'll even put 3 in there for us. Let's do that right now. Okay. So the way I have, so down at the bottom now, you should be able to see, I just wrote language power tutorial PDF. So if you want the PDF, LPT1, LPT2, LPT3, so you can find, look at, read, download them there. So the way that I set this up, people were asking where to find it, is if you go to the homepage, Professor Jeff's course material, that's where all this stuff lives. But I think someone was asking about modules too. I can put that here in modules. If I just go course materials.
Sir, they're whatever they are, do we have it on the book, right?
Yes, they're just scans of the book. That's exactly right. And I'm going to publish this, and I'm just going to add a link to the page.
See, you're teaching computer also for us, huh?
I know this is just, like I said, no one feel bad for me. I love my job and I love all of you, but like I said, it's just like, I don't feel like a teacher sometimes. I feel like I just manage this website. I just like put things, it's just links and files and it's just like, oh God, it's not what I love to do, but it's all good. So now you can get there from Professor Jeff's course materials on the homepage, or if you click on modules, at the very top, you'll see course materials. Just click that link. It will take you to that page as well, okay?
Easy.
And there's the PDFs at the bottom of the page. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, again. So I'm sorry if the PDFs not being in there were slowing you down, thinking, or preventing you from getting the lessons done. But again, no due dates, no stress. Just do what you can. And we can slow down the first 3 or 4 weeks because everything that we do builds on parts of speech, phrases, and clauses. So however slow we need to go so that people feel comfortable with that, that's totally fine with me, you guys. Other questions? Veronica, did I see your hand up? Did you have a question before I let you go?
I say bye.
Nope, she's saying bye. Bye-bye, Asta. She's
Thank
like,
you,
get me out of
Professor.
here. If you don't have
Thank
questions,
you.
bye Hugh,
Good
bye
night.
everybody, bye
Bye,
Amanda.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Bye, Andre. Thanks for your amazing questions. Thank you for a beautiful class.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
I'll see you next week.
If I have a question.
Yeah, stay. I'm here if people have questions. Bye, Galina.
Yes, but Professor, if you tell us on assignments that from which page to which page do we study up to next Wednesday, that will be great because it make us confused. Sometimes we can find, sometimes we lose. So if you say the pages, which.
Yep, right. Can you see my screen? So this is what in the PowerPoint slide, the last slide of every PowerPoint. And remember, I can show this to you again. If you click on live support materials, that's where all the Zoom recordings, that's where all the PowerPoints live. If you click on live support materials, PowerPoint presentation, the last slide of every PowerPoint presentation is exactly what you just asked for. If I'm asking you to read pages, I'll put the pages in there. If I'm asking you to do lessons, I'll put the lessons in there. So I'm happy to show that to you. I'm suggesting finish 23 to 41 for next week. And if you don't have your book yet, you can go back to modules, course materials, and look at the PDF down at the very bottom of the page, LPT2.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you.
So I have to say something that I have done all my assignments like from tutorial number 1 to number 8, but what I have seen today. So most of discussions like on academic grammar. So I mostly done with all my assignments. I wish the answers which I did were correct, and I know I totally answered the questions on tutorial by very low level. But I did
look at it. So there's two things. If you want to go back and resubmit or add more attempts, I can make more attempts possible. Because remember, the lessons are really not about a quiz. It's about a chance to practice the rules. And then second, when I grade the assignments, if people are worried about their points, we can always figure that out later. So it's totally up to you, however you want to do it to practice the new skills.
All right. If I didn't get the complete grade, then I will resubmit. That's the good chance.
I had a feeling. That sounds good.
All right. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you for being flexible with us.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for your great questions, your hard work. I appreciate you all.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Thank you, Andre. Thanks, Sandy. Thank you for your great questions.
Have a good rest of time. Bye-bye.
I know. Sir, I know you love your job so much. Because when I was watching your videos, you were talking like in body gestures and stuff. I understood that you love your job very much. That everybody should do like that.
It's true. I do. I really love talking about this. I love language and I love helping people. So yeah, this is a good job for me.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Jeffrey.
Yeah.
My workbook you to connected to me is very thank you. Thank you so much.
I remember. I know. My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Have a nice day and have a nice night, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
I'll see you next week.